How's it, everyone? Welcome to Open Court. I'm Ken, and today we're taking a look at some of the top gear that I tried this year in 2023. It's that time of year again, so let's have a year in review video. On this video, we're talking about my top 5 rackets that I tried in the year of 2023. So there are many rackets that I tried this year, but notably I did not have a chance to try any new Babala rackets. Babala rackets are kind of hard for me to come by here in Hawaii because none of the local shops contract with Babala, so I can't get demos from them. I have to order them online, and that costs a lot, the shipping to Hawaii. So hopefully I'll be able to review more Babala rackets. There wasn't really too much that I wanted to review this year anyway. I thought the new Pure Strike version 4 was supposed to come out this year. I heard rumors that it was. Hopefully it comes out in 2024. That's a racket that I definitely want to review for you guys, but you won't see any Babala rackets in this top 5. Also, I just want to clarify, these are rackets that I tried for the first time in 2023. They didn't necessarily come out this year, but I tried them for the first time this year. So without further ado, let's get into my top 5 rackets of 2023, starting with number 5. So number 5, best racket that I tried in 2023. This was a very pleasant surprise because this racket wasn't even on my radar. I've never even tried a string from this brand, but that racket is the Diadem Elevate 98 version 3. I was very surprised by how comfortable this racket was. It uses the Crybond dampening technology that the Head Graphene Touch series used way back a few years ago. That racket was a little bit too dampened, and honestly, I actually feel the Diadem Elevate is a little bit too dampened for me personally. I like the old school stiff feels like the liquid metal technology, but the Diadem Elevate 98 version 3, the weight and balance and the control on ground strokes was amazing. I had great kick serves with this racket, and I had awesome control on my forehand swings. This racket was a very pleasant surprise. I struggled with it a little bit on my backhand, but the forehand control was so good that it made me really confident taking huge swings from the baseline. So number 5, the Diadem Elevate 98 version 3. Number 4 on this list was another pleasant surprise because I've never been too big of a fan of this particular line, and I didn't even know about the existence of this racket before, like a month before I tried it. But the number 4 racket on this list is the Wilson Ultra Pro version 4, specifically the 1619 pattern. There is also an 1820 pattern, and usually I like tighter string patterns, but in this case, the 1619 of the Wilson Pro is actually quite tight. And so it gets me that good control on my full swings. It has that low launch angle so I can step into returns and attack it. But it's still a fairly open pattern overall, so it gets great spin and power. But the beam is thin, so it gets great control. It complements my aggressive playstyle very well. The Wilson Ultra 100 I also reviewed earlier this year, and I didn't like that at all. I don't really like rackets in that pure drive spec, the tweener spec that are heavily focused on power. I like to bring my own power to the table. Although I'm not a huge hitter, I like to take fast, aggressive swings. The Wilson Ultra Pro was a huge surprise, complemented my game very well, and I really like the 1619 version of this racket. All right, number 3 racket of 2023 for me was the 2022 Yonex E-Zone 98 Tour. So this racket released last year along with the updated version of the E-Zone 98. This is the first time that I've ever tried the E-Zone 98 Tour, and when I picked it up and when I was warming up with it, I definitely noticed that extra weight, and it was very hard for me to handle at first, but I cannot deny the results. When I was playing singles and doubles with it, my balls had so much pace and so much momentum and penetration. As long as I, made contact in front of my body, I had to kind of shorten up my swing. But the results on court were undeniable. The E-Zone Tour, I see why a lot of advanced players like it. It has incredible stability. I can just swing away pretty much mindlessly on the returns because it has that torsional stability. It doesn't twist in the hand because of all that weight. And so it allows me to hit aggressive returns, take control of the point. It is a little bit taxing to play defense with and singles overall. It gets tiring to swing that thing for long matches, but the E-Zone 98 Tour gets great penetration on ground strokes, good power on serves. It is a little bit sluggish and hard for me to get over my head on the kick serves, But it's really just the take back that's hard. Once I get it up above my head in front of me and snapping my wrist, the racket does the rest. Same with the ground strokes. The take back, I have to keep it a little bit short so I can make sure to make contact in front of my body. But once the racket's in front of me, the racket just does the rest, and the power and the penetration was great. So the EZO 98 Tour was a very pleasant surprise. Honestly, it might be something I might consider picking up and just weighing down in the handle to make it a little bit more headlight so I can get it over my head faster on the kick serve. All right, we're now in the top two. So number 2 racket of 2023. This was a racket that was released this year. It's a brand new spec and comes with a brand new name. That is the Yonex Percept 100D. So I reviewed both the 97 and the 100D, and I clearly like the 100D a lot better. The Percept series is an upgrade or an update to the VCore Pro series, and I really like the VCore Pro 97. Last year I demoed it. It was in my top 5 of last year. They changed the name so that there's a little bit more differentiation between the standard VCore and the VCore Pro. I know a lot of people just thought the VCore Pro was a heavier version of the VCore, but they're completely different rackets with different construction, different specs. And so you can quibble about the name. I know a lot of people don't like the name Percept, but I know I like that Yonex changed the name so it's a little bit more distinguishable from the VCore. The reason why I like the 100D is because it has that nice, generous, large 100 square inch head for power on the serves, power on the volleys. This is a great serve and volley racket, but I really like it because it has an 18 by 19 string pattern. That is my favorite string pattern of all time. I don't see very many 18-19 string pattern rackets out there on the market anymore, but I usually use 18-20, but the reason why I like 18-19, it has that one less cross string, which allows the main strings to move just a little bit more, so it gets a little bit more spin on the kick serve and the topspin forehands, but it still has 18 mains, meaning that the launch angle is nice and low. I can stay on the gas on my returns, swing away on the ground strokes, and keep the ball in play. The Percept 100D, it's a little bit too soft for me, honestly. I wish it was a little bit stiffer, a little bit more crisp. I can get that by stringing it with like Tour White or something crisper, but the 100D was a very pleasant surprise and it was my number 2 racket of 2023. All right, we have finally reached my top racket of 2023. And again, this was another huge surprise because I have never been a fan of this line. In fact, I didn't even know that this racket had been released until On Point Sports, which is a local tennis shop here in Hawaii that I usually go to, told me about this racket. And so I just had to demo it even though I'd never been a fan of this line. But my number 1 racket of 2023 is the Head Auxetic 2.0 Prestige Pro. I just released a video review of this racket. You guys can check it out. It's on my channel now. Honestly, I loved this racket so much, and it's super surprising because I reviewed the previous generation, I think released in 2021, the Auxetic 1.0 Prestige Pro, and I didn't like that racket at all. It was super sluggish, no power at all from the baseline or the serves. It was sluggish to get over my head, so my kick serves didn't even kick. It just kind of sat up there. My opponents would just smack it back at me. I had no offensive power at all with the previous Prestige Pro. Honestly, it's a funny story with the Prestige because I've always loved the color of the Prestige. I'm a huge fan of the colorway, the maroon. The red and black is my favorite color combination. And so when the Prestige first released, I tried so many different versions of the Prestige because I really wanted to like the racket. But it's so different in terms of what I usually like. I do like control frames, but I also want something that gives me a little bit more help with power and spin. The Prestige line has never gelled well with me because it leans so far heavily to the control side, but I've still persistently tried so many versions of the Prestige because I've been a huge fan of the color, and that's just a personal thing with me. I just like aesthetics. If you notice, I always match the color of the strings with the color of the racket. I like to do that a lot, but finally, I found a Prestige that I really like, so much so that I'm actually contemplating buying one because I'm very curious to try this Prestige Pro with a natural gut mains and a polycross hybrid. This racket is still true to the Prestige name. It's a very low powered control oriented frame, so it has that thin 20mm beam. And you can take huge swings from the baseline, which is what I like. You can be the one to dictate the flow of the point with your own pace, with your own power, but it feels a lot easier to swing. I don't know what head did to the construction, because the specs on paper are exactly the same as the previous generation, but this version was so much easier to bring over my head on the kick serves. I noticed my kick serves bouncing up like usual, even though it has that tight 1820 pattern in a 98 square inch head. I was getting a lot more spin than the previous generation. It was easier to swing, more maneuverable at the net. I just loved it overall. I really hope that it's not like a quality control spec tolerance issue, that I got a demo that was heavily leaned towards the handle in terms of the balance, but I really liked that racket. So I'm gonna probably try it again just to be sure, and I might buy it. But my number one racket of this year is the Head Auxetic 2.0 Prestige Pro. Honestly, I never thought this would be even in my top 5, because I haven't liked any of the Prestige rackets up to this point. But finally, there's one I like. So we'll see if I buy it. I'm definitely thinking about it, but this is my number one racket of 2023. So thank you everyone for all of your love and support through 2023. My channel has grown a lot this year. I definitely want to do more rackets reviews for you in the future in 2024. It's harder for me to get those because I have to pay for a lot of the demos from the online retailers. The shipping to Hawaii is very expensive. Whatever I can find on island to try for you, I definitely will try to get those for you guys. The racket reviews are always my most reviewed videos, so I know you guys want to see those, and I want to bring you guys the content you guys want to see. So 2024, hopefully the Pure Strike from Babla will come out. I definitely want to try that. Pure Strike VS I'm also curious about as well. But look forward to my next video, because the next one is going to be my top 7 strings that I tried in 2023. I tried a lot more strings than rackets, so I can't whittle it down to a top 5, so it's going to be a top 7. That'll be up very soon after this video. Thank you for all your love and support, and if you guys like this video, be sure to overhead smash that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on an open court.